hello and welcome to another episode of the Duke Football Talk Section 17 podcast. I am your host, Josh Cox. This podcast is brought to you today by our friends at Comfort Mechanical Contractors. They are the Triangle's premier commercial HVAC installation and service company. You can visit comfortmc.com for more information. But like I said, I'm your host, Josh Cox. I'm here as always with Jamie Holt, Scott Medlin. We are missing our guy, Brian Kennedy, who usually does these opens. We're missing Brian. Brian is on a boat. Brian is out of the country. He is at sea. He's at sea on a cruise. And so we brought in tonight one of our good friends, Freddie Hodges. Freddie, man, real quick, just introduce yourself and tell people like what you do and where they can find your work, man.
All right. Hey, guys. First, I want to say thanks for having me. Love the pod. Listen to it every week, whether it's with my mowing business, whether it's when I get a break, and your pod every week. It gets me hyped and ready for the football games. I'm Freddie Hodges. I'm with Duke Report. I've been working Duke football games since about 2013 for Duke Report, as well as Duke basketball games. So going on about 10 years. Football, I try to get down 3 to 4 games a year. I do live in Virginia, so it is a little bit of a drive and everything. But I've been doing sports media for about 10 years. On Twitter, it's at Duke Report, as well as my own Twitter at Skilo22.
Awesome. We appreciate Freddie coming on. Brian has been doing a segment on Freddie's blog where they have been doing the way too early bowl predictions for Duke football. And so I believe don't you release one of those weekly, Freddie? Is that right?
Yeah, we release it weekly, and I love it, man. I think Brian and I have the same kind of mindset. I'm a scheduler, man. Where I
Yeah.
run a business, I'm constantly looking ahead, and it's whether it's hiking, mowing, whatever, and teaching, and so I think our minds came together on that, and we do the bowl projections. And man, I wish it was a full-time job. I love it. It's like the
Yeah,
weather. You predict it, you can be right or wrong.
that's
Next week's
right.
a new week.
But it's fun, right? It's fun.
Oh,
Well,
it's awesome.
listen,
It's a good time.
yeah, listen, Duke came off of a big win this past week, went up to UConn. Weather wasn't great, but not as bad as what it could have been. In fact, I believe Duke was planning on it to be a little bit worse than it was. Duke comes out the 41-7 victors to go 4-0 so far in the season. We have a big game to look ahead to for sure. But before we do that, let's hear from head coach Mike Elko after Duke's win at UConn.
Yeah, obviously, what I told the guys in the locker room, proud of the way we came here and handled our business. I thought we played a mature game. We're not naive to all the talk and all the buzz that's out there right now. And I thought we stayed focused and handled the task at hand the way we needed to. I thought we did that the last 3 weeks, to be honest. And so it was great to go out there and get a job done, to get an early lead, to get out in front at halftime, and then to kind of be able to put that thing away so that we could rest a lot of our players in the fourth quarter and get a lot of guys some opportunities again, because those opportunities in this early part of the season are critical because, at some point those guys are going to get on the field and need to help win us a football game. Really happy with how we played defense today. Obviously, I thought we played one of our best defensive performances of my tenure here. I thought we were suffocating. I thought we leveraged the football really well. I thought we kind of took away the throw game. We were much improved on third down, which was obviously an emphasis coming off of last week. We were able to get some pressure. We were able to get some sacks, and I thought we did the things that we needed to do. Offensively, I thought we kind of were a little bit sluggish in the run game, which we knew was going to be our challenge. We knew they had a really talented front six. I wish we would have rose to that challenge a little bit better than we did, but, we also knew that we were going to have to be able to execute in the passing game, and I thought we did that at a really high level. And then, we were able to finish some drives early for touchdowns, and I think that was a critical turning point. And so continue to do good things on special teams. Obviously, I thought it was a great job by Todd Polino making those first 2 field goals. The third one was a real challenge because the wind started whipping up on him. Porter continues to punt the football at a really, really high level. And so I think we're doing the things that we need to do to win football games. And so now it's obviously turning the page and kind of get into the meat of this season with a big challenge next week that obviously we're going to have to meet head on. So from there, I'll open it up to questions.
And that was head coach Mike Elko, brought to you by Durham Devils Club.com. This is the Duke NIL arm. We want to thank them so much for all they're doing to help the Duke student athletes. If you're interested and being a part of that, head to DurhamDevilsClub.com. If you want to get some behind the scenes access, some hour-long interviews with players like Graham Barton, Dwayne Carter, Riley Leonard. We've got some coordinator calls coming up soon. You can do that at the $25 or above level. But I've talked enough, guys. Duke is 4-0. Listen, what are we thinking? Scott, Jamie, we'll let you guys chime in here. What are we thinking? Duke comes out of Hartford, Connecticut, East Hartford, Connecticut, a 41-7 winner. And how are we feeling?
Look, I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, we went up there and did what we thought we should do. I think all of us projected blowout wins up there in Connecticut, and Duke went up there and took care of business. It was in a different way than what we thought, because I think we thought that we were going to run all over them and run for 200 yards plus. It didn't turn out that way. It seemed like maybe Connecticut kind of sold out to stop that run and opened up some of that intermediate passing game that we saw from Raleigh Leonard, and saw a really nice game from Jordan Moore and Jalen Calhoun. Just receivers getting involved, Nikki Damalin getting involved. The intermediate passing game was elite, and they were able to just move the ball that way instead of running the ball, even though Jordan Waters still got, 2 more touchdowns. So to add to his total, he's already got 7 on the year, which is crazy.
Yeah, and unfortunately, every time Jordan Waters scores, Brian reminds us that he picked Jordan Waters and puts a stake on our group text. So, yeah, really not fun. No, as far as just getting the emoji from Brian is not fun. Seeing Jordan Waters score is a lot of fun. Man, like Jamie said, the fact that Duke had to change the approach just a little bit worked out well for Duke. It did help that early in the game, their best linebacker got called for the targeting, that didn't get called for targeting, that called for targeting, that Charlotte called and said, let's do this. And then I think the president may have called and made it an official of something here or there. Then about 30 minutes later, the ACC official, old Jerry, decided that it was a targeting foul. So typical ACC takes 30 minutes to do the simple process, as you can see, in about 10 seconds. But other than that, Duke did what they were supposed to do. Defense was great. Honestly, Jamie screwed it up for me when he mentioned that they had not give up a touchdown. It looked like they weren't going to, because I'm the only one that picked the side bet that we would give up 0 points in one game. So thank you, Jamie. But honestly, though, the defense was really good. And, this is one of the many things that we've talked about so far in the 4 wins. The opportunity for these younger guys to get in there in the third and fourth quarter. And, Coach mentioned it. We'll probably get to this in a little bit. But Coach mentioned in today's press conference that it's good for these guys to get a chance to play, because you never know. And since Coach Elko's been here, we've said it nonstop, to nauseum. Next man up mentality. If somebody's out, somebody steps in. And it was nice. The defense played really well without Miles Jones playing. And that was something we really didn't know about until the game started. So, just another opportunity to learn. Raleigh got banged up a little bit on his throwing hand. It wasn't his thumb. There's CBS Sports, just so you know, it was his pinky, because that's what this is. That's a pinky. So they had it out there, and they were wrapping that, not the thumb. Okay, anyway. Thank God we're not back on that network anymore either. So, but, just another big win for Duke, another opportunity to get better, get stronger, another chance for Raleigh to display his arm. And looking forward to this weekend where, that tiny game is going to happen sometime on Saturday.
And that was my one gripe about Saturday was the CBS Sports Network. Those announcers were the worst I've ever heard in my entire life. Like, they sounded like they should be calling a high school football game. It was awful. I would have rather been playing on the CW.
Wow. Look at Jamie. Freddie, any thoughts from you from watching that game on Saturday?
All right, guys, not going to lie. I was hiking in western North Carolina in the Smoky Mountains, doing a hiking challenge with the wife. But funny thing real quick, 6,000 feet elevation, not much reception. I turned the phone off because I was using the GPS. I turned it on at around 6,000 feet. I get the CBS update or something, 7-0. I'm like, whoa, that's a pretty close game. But that was at the beginning of the game. I wasn't looking at the time. And then I get a text message from my mom telling me the 41-7 score or whatever. And I'm like, all right. I'm like, I'm surprised I got reception up here. But I have not seen the game yet, but I went through the notables and looked at just on paper what I've seen so far. So I'm going to watch the game this week. But what I'm impressed with, I just want to hit up on 5 things. And it's Duke begins a year 4 consecutive 20-plus point wins. I didn't know this, but it's the first time in program history. Another notable that was there, Duke has won the turnover battle in 5 consecutive games and are 10-2 when doing so under Coach Mike Elko. So, keep this momentum going for Notre Dame. Another thing, when I was just reading through the notables, Duke held UConn to 203 yards total offense, making it the 3rd consecutive game in which the Blue Devils held opponent to under 300 yards. And the one that impressed me the most, and I haven't, like I said, I'm going to rewatch hopefully the game tomorrow. Duke held UConn to 32 yards of offense and just 4 first downs in the first half alone. So I'm hoping on Wednesday, I think it's my evening, I'm going to excited to see it. And then Raleigh Leonard, 2nd straight game of 200-plus passing yards. Impressive performance.
So, Freddie, what you're going to see when you watch the game back is 32 yards in the first half, and then one major big, 70-yard run, Scott? Well, Jamie, wasn't it like 70 yards? So, I mean, out of those 202 or whatever it was, 70 of them was on one play. So, yes, that was a big chunk. And then Freddie mentioned Riley Leonard. He was 23 of 34 in this game, 248 yards passing. 1 passing touchdown, and then he ran another 4 times for 30 yards with another rushing touchdown there. And so Riley Leonard continues to just be Riley Leonard, right? He just continues to show people that he is an elite quarterback. Duke in these last 3 games, as I believe Scott mentioned, really has the second half has been able to take the air out of the ball, has been able to play a lot of guys, not just in their 2 deep, as Coach Elko mentioned in his presser, but also even down in the 3 deep. Some of these true freshmen, they're able to play these guys that they're redshirting because they get that 4-game buffer there. So they're able to play some guys they plan on redshirting and these games. And so at the end of the day, Riley may not be throwing for 4 touchdowns a game, but it's because Duke is absolutely manhandling their opponents. I mean, you look back at the last 3 games, and it's been Duke's not even played perfect football by any stretch of the imagination. And none of these games have been close. And, going into each of these games, we were like, except for Lafayette, but the last 2, Northwestern and UConn, we were kind of like, hey, we're not really sure. Like, we need to make sure we show up. UConn, especially being a road game, they played NC State pretty well in week 1. What team is going to show up there? And, man, we really took it to them early, put our foot on the gas pedal, and then didn't let off in the second half. What about some players, guys? Anybody stick out to you as you think through the performance? I want to give a couple. First was Samir Hagans. I loved the fact that it looked like Riley got him going in the offense early, and we know that there's a 3-headed monster there at wide receiver. So I want to give him a shout-out. / Nicky Dalmolin. Another a good game from him, got more targets. But then my second shout-out, really, my true second shout-out, because, we've been a little – not critical by any stretch, but it's been an area of struggle a little bit this year. I thought Jalen Calhoun on the punt returns in this UConn game, he was very strong. He was very decisive. He had a couple of different returns that you would say were substantial returns. And so those are a couple of guys that stood out to me. Anybody from you guys, Scott?
I would say Aeneas Peoples. I mean, that he got shot out of a cannon a couple times and got in the backfield. And I tell you, that's a name that a lot of people nationally have not heard of him. We've seen what he's done in 4 games. We've seen what he's done in his career. But it's good to see that it's a different D lineman or whatever, because Ryan Smith had another good game. And then my favorite moment of the day, obviously, because he's my guy, Big Wayne, the campaign, picking up that fumble and rumbling and stumbling that long 25 yards, looking like a running back, which nod, wink, wink. Coach Elko, if we ever need a fake, we got the up guy to give the football to that knows how to carry the rock, baby.
That thick 6.
That's right.
That's right. Shout out to the social media team.
Yeah, that was great.
Not only thick 6, but flag planted, knowing that Cooper Flag was supposed to be at the game. rumor has it he was there at the end of the game. And so not that we care at all about basketball, but Cooper Flagg was there being courted by UConn. For some reason, they decided to bring him to the blowout football game. I think it would have been hilarious if Sunday morning he would have committed to Duke after being on campus there to watch the football game. But anyway, well, listen, any other thoughts about this UConn game before we kind of turn the page?
Yeah, a
Jamie?
player, just a player that stood out to me was Jordan Moore. I mean, over 80 yards receiving, 8 catches, 10 yards a catch, had the nice touchdown from Raleigh Leonard. He just had a great game, and he continues to just settle into that role as a top-notch receiver in the ACC and in the country.
To me, it's another, we've already kind of had the back discussion. It's another week where it's hard to pick a guy for your helmet sticker because there was just so many guys.
Ooh.
So which is a great problem to have. Don't get me wrong.
Spoiler.
I would much rather be sitting over here trying to figure out eeny, meeny, miny, mo instead of, man, who was one that didn't stink? So that's a nice advantage we have this season.
Spoiler alert. I did not go with Raleigh Leonard. I did not go with Raleigh Leonard.
The restraining order has been taken back 10 feet.
That's right. So at the end of the day, Jamie can't just copy and paste,
As a guy that listens to the pod, man, you didn't go with Leonard. I'm shocked.
We all are, Freddie. We all are.
Yeah.
Well, listen. So Duke is 4-0, as we said, and listen. With all due respect to Clemson, who's 0-2 in the ACC, with all due respect to Clemson, this Duke team is 4-0, and I mean, as Freddie mentioned, all the games have been over 20 points, and no game has been in doubt in the fourth quarter, and so. Really remarkable. But we know this. We know that this fifth game, as we pointed out in our preseason episodes, that really, you want to break the season down into 3 sets of 4 games. But because of the way this fifth weekend works in September, the bye week is coming in week 6. Really, you lump this Notre Dame game in with these first 4. And so, I remember, I believe it was Connor O'Neill on Duke Rivals, who his optimistic approach was Duke was 4-1 coming out of these first 5. I believe that the most optimistic Duke fan that we know, Jordan Mann, had Duke coming out of this 4-1. So if Duke comes out of this 5-0, I don't know anyone with like credible media experience at all that really had Duke 5-0. And so if Duke can win this game on Saturday, it'll be pretty epic. But we did have a very special guest. This is probably the most special guest so far. It rivals Eric McLean, but this is one of a really cool opportunity we had. We brought on our friend of the pod, Brady Quinn, former quarterback from Notre Dame. And Jamie, Scott, and myself were able to sit down with him and talk a little bit about the game coming up this Saturday. And we're joined now with former Notre Dame quarterback Brady Quinn. And Brady, man, we really appreciate you coming on to the Section 17 podcast today, man.
Yeah, Josh, Jamie, Scott, appreciate you guys having me on. Obviously, a pleasure to be on. Big one coming up this week. You got ESPN GameDay going to be down there for it. So they're following Notre Dame in back-to-back weeks. Should be in prime time. Should be a lot of fun this week. Yeah,
for sure. And we can't introduce Brady Quinn without saying he was the quarterback at Notre Dame from 2003 to 2006. In case you didn't know, he's responsible for 101 career touchdowns. That's both throwing and running, and then nearly 12,000 career passing yards. Drafted 22nd overall in the 2007 NFL draft. He was the 2006 Maxwell Award winner. Man, are we missing anything else, Brady? You're the most handsome man on this podcast. We know that for sure. So,
I appreciate that. And I was around Chad Klunder, who I believe is the director of football ops. Is that his title?
Yeah,
now?
He's the chief of staff, I believe.
So I was with Chad back when he was a GA. And so back in those days, the GAs would get out there for like the early morning workouts, like 6 a.m. And we used to have a strength coach by the name of Mickey Marotti, who's now at Ohio State. And he had these things called mat drills. And the GAs, him and a guy by the name of DJ Durkin, who's still coaching, he's the DC now down at Texas A&M. They were out there getting after us. And I remember just as freshmen coming in. So Chad and I go way back. Obviously, I've watched the Duke football program over the past couple of years continue to build under Coach Elko. Have a lot of respect for him. He's one of the best defensive minds, best coaches in it. And so when they had reached out about coming on with you guys, I was like, of course, obviously Chad and I go way back. So I owe him a lot for how he took care of me, especially when I was a young pup there at Notre Dame.
Yeah, man, for sure. Well, speaking of that, what's taking place? You had your NFL career the lasted a few years. So tell us a little bit about what are you up to now, man? Where can we find you, and what are you doing on a weekly basis?
Yeah, so I played about 8 years. Went into my 8th year with the Miami Dolphins in training camp after having a back injury. I had back surgery, so didn't really work out there. Immediately got released and then jumped into a broadcast booth the following week. I had a deal set up with Fox Sports to call college football and NFL games. Not something that I really prepared for out of college. I was a poli-sci and finance major, so kind of saw life like either I was going to hit it, play football, and be a Hall of Famer, and then I was going to figure out something after that when I was like 40, 45, or it wasn't going to work out at all. And I was just going to segue into the business world or into law school and go that direction. No one really prepares for like what's in between. And so I got some advice from Jeff Fisher back when I was with the St. Louis Rams at the time when I had the back surgery, and he had maybe encouraged me to look into broadcasting. So I did, and, got some opportunities, started to run with it, and then really haven't looked back. So I've been working for Fox Sports on their broadcast and cable platform since 2014. I started working for CBS Sports and their digital platform, CBS Sports HQ, in 2015. And then I've been doing radio for SiriusXM, their NFL channel, for a minute, but now Fox Sports Radio on a national show now for 2 years, Monday through Friday. So pretty busy schedule, but it's not really working when you're talking about sports every day.
Yeah, no, I get that completely. And you got a website too, man. I was looking up some of that. You want to explain a little bit about, but is it a foundation that you have?
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you. So Third and Goal Foundation, obviously, we help support veterans, but the name kind of comes from, I had like every single New England Patriots assistant that left Belichick for a period of time. I mean, Charlie Weiss in college, Romeo Crennel drafted me. I got traded to Josh McDaniels, had Eric Mangini in there somewhere. So I had all these guys. And one of the things about the New England Patriots and Bill Belichick, what makes them so successful is just their situational football. And they would always talk about 3rd and goal being one of those crucial plays that happens throughout all 4 quarters that largely dictates the outcome of games, depending on, the execution. And so my father had served in Vietnam as a Marine. My grandfather had served in World War II in the Army. So I've always wanted to give back. I always thought if I hadn't had sports, I probably would have ended up serving in some capacity. And so while I was playing in the NFL, I started a foundation called the 3rd and Goal Foundation to help support wounded veterans. We started off initially by remodeling homes to make them handicap accessible. Since then, we've built on educational platforms at Notre Dame, Ohio State, University of Cincinnati to help a lot of those student veterans coming back and finishing their degree and getting gainfully employed. And then the last thing is Operation Joy. We try to just support, student veterans and veterans in whatever way we can. And so those are really the 3 pillars that we've got. And it's been running for about 13 years now. So I appreciate you giving me a chance to talk about it.
Man, that's awesome, Brady. So looking at your career specifically, you went through a coaching change between your sophomore and junior year. Yeah. Many of these Duke players have experienced the same thing. What was it like to have an overhaul like that halfway through your career?
Yeah, man. I mean, it couldn't have been any more drastic of a difference between Tyrone Willingham, who I went to play for, and Charlie Weiss, just in the way they communicated, leadership styles, the type of kind of, people they were and where they come from, their backgrounds. So and I'm sure Chad could elaborate on this too. I mean, it was probably shocking for a lot of guys. And I think the difference, from then to now is you didn't have an avenue of the transfer portal. You did, but you were losing your year of eligibility. And granted, I had a redshirt year, but I never really, when I decided to go to Notre Dame, and I'm sure this is similar to a lot of players who go to Duke, you go there for the entire package. You go there for the sports. You go there for the academic degree, the education, and then everything that's going to happen down the road for you as well, with being a part of it. So I really didn't contemplate leaving. I was just more curious, like, who would be the coach. And so when Coach Weiss got in there, for me personally, it was awesome, right? He just came off his 3rd Super Bowl with the New England Patriots as the play caller. First playbook I ever got was the same playbook Tom Brady was rolling with. So it was quite the undertaking. It was almost like taking an additional course that spring of my my junior year, or sophomore year going into junior year. But it was, you're in the situation where you really just had to buy in. Like, you couldn't question anything you had to believe in everything that the coach was preaching. And I think the funny thing about that is for most of us, like, unless you just have blind faith, you got to see like results. You got to see something come from that. And so like where I see the similarities between like my experience and where Duke's at now is, that first year Coach Elko comes in, you go 9-4, right? You win 9 games. First Duke football head coach ever to do that. You look at the 4 losses. I mean, they're all by one score by 8 points. Like they're all tight losses. Like it's not even like they're getting blown out. And so when you have a season like that, all those older guys who were there, who went to go play for Coach Cutcliffe, who was actually with Coach Weiss's staff, ironically, that was something. He had a heart condition, so he couldn't actually coach us, which was a shame. So I love Coach Cutcliffe, but when you go from one to the other, there's that element of like, do I really believe in what I'm doing right now? Once you see the results, that's when you get the buy-in. And I really feel like the foundation last year was laid by Coach Elko and this team. And then now you see what's happening this next year. And that was kind of how it was for us too, my last 2 years with Coach Weiss, and how it kind of worked out.
We'll say, obviously, last Saturday, Notre Dame losing there to Ohio State left a bad taste in their mouth. What is the overall feeling from Notre Dame's side as they come prepared to play in Durham this weekend?
Honestly, I think there's a lot of guys who are angry. They're frustrated because they felt like they outplayed Ohio State. They just didn't execute some of those final moments. There's some point in time throughout the game where they could have taken the game, could have won the game, or the outcome could have ended up being a little bit different as far as how it would have played out too. So there's a lot of guys who are ticked off, to be honest with you. And, fortunately, there's a strong nucleus and leadership within that locker room. And that's one where, like, obviously you got a 6-year quarterback and Sam Hartman, who I know the ACC is very well aware of, given his prolific career there. He's the type of guy that steps up and says, this thing isn't going to stop. Like, we got to keep this thing rolling. So I think they're pretty ticked off. They're frustrated, and they expected to win that game. Didn't work out that way. And really for them, there's no margin of error moving forward, right? Especially you don't play in a conference for a conference championship. You can't afford to drop another one. And with their schedule, coming in to have to play Duke on the road, and then USC, and then, eventually Louisville on the road. That's now another primetime game, and Clemson later on. It's a gauntlet. It really is a gauntlet for them. So they can't, really lick their wounds right now. They have to turn around and get ready for a really good Duke team.
Yeah, looking a little bit broader, their second year for Marcus Freeman. Ironically played Ohio State last year and this year, but thinking back in these last, 12 months or so, what are some of the things that he's implemented maybe behind the scenes, or maybe staff movement that has taken place that's really got him in a better spot in year 2 even than he was in year 1?
Yeah, so I think the crazy thing was that, I don't know how much of a national story it ends up being, but there was so much turnover after the season not a lot of people see. When you look at the fact that your offensive coordinator left to go to Alabama, your special teams coordinator left to go to the NFL, your offensive line coach retired, your head strength coach retired right before the season. I mean, those are some huge positions you've got to fill. And so, after going through a bunch of different candidates, I think they felt like with the combination of Gino Godelli at the quarterback coach, who got some play calling experience during his time at Cincinnati and played quarterbacks, who gets it, Joe Rudolph, who's got play calling experience for his time at Wisconsin, now is the O-line coach. I think they felt like those two combined with Jared Parker, their tight ends coach, made kind of the best combination for putting together a game plan each week offensively. Obviously ended up finding a familiar face with the special teams coordinator down from Ole Miss. So, they were able to be able to, put together a staff. I wouldn't say relatively quick, but, with the right guys that I fit what Coach Freeman's looking at doing with the team that he has. And that's not something that I think a lot of guys after your first season, you win 9 games, you're not saying, okay, now I'm going to replace almost, 4 of my most important coaches on my staff. So that's a pretty heavy undertaking. And then you had to go find a quarterback. And they found Sam Hartman, but you lose one of the guys as far as in the back of your room, and Tyler Buckner goes down to Alabama, who at least had some experience compared to the other 2 backups. So a lot of turnover, I'd say, to a degree in the offseason that I thought Coach Freeman and obviously the staff, everyone's handled relatively well.
I know we talked about your work and everything now with broadcasting, but will you be able to make the trip to Durham this Saturday?
No, I wish I could. We'll actually be out in Boulder, which we've already been there a few times this season, following the story there with Deion Sanders as their head coach. And
we hadn't heard anything about we've not heard anything about Colorado or Deion Sanders. What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly. Right, exactly. Trust me. I'll be looking at real estate out there because I'm not sure how many more times we'll be out there this year. So we were joking about it after like the first week we were in Fort Worth, but it was still a Colorado game. And obviously a great game, upset. Then they beat Nebraska at home. You're like, okay, like the momentum's building. They should beat Colorado State. That ends up being a thriller. And then obviously last week, some of their weaknesses really got exploited by Oregon. And then this week you're taking on a USC team that can put up a ton of points. So we'll see where things stand after this, but we will be in Boulder, Colorado. And then I actually have to call an NFL game. Ironically, I'll be in the vicinity of where you guys will be, but that won't be till late Saturday night because I'm calling Minnesota Vikings versus the Carolina Panthers on Sunday.
Very nice. So can you speak to the excitement that Duke will have Saturday with the game day experience being there?
I mean, look, obviously with Fox, with what I do, we're a direct competitor.
Right.
But I get it. Like there's excitement when we show up anywhere for a game. You see how excited the fans are, not only for the atmosphere and everything else out around it, but it really just, that's what makes college football great. I know they tailgate and whatnot in the NFL, but it's not like an all-day affair, an all-day event, and you don't have the same kind of spirit like you do for your alma mater or like you do for your favorite college team. Something about it's just different. And so that place is going to be electric. And obviously the tailgate's a night game. The tailgate's going to start early. The only thing you got to tell all your fans is make sure they hydrate enough to make sure they're still rowdy after an early morning to be able to make it to prime time. When we were out in Boulder and game day was out there as well, I mean, we both had huge crowds. And I was looking at some of these kids at the end of the show. I'm like, they're not making it. Like they're not going to make it to a 7:00 local kick. And we were already off the air. I think we were off the air by like 10 a.m. Mountain time. So good luck to all the students out there. Make sure you start hydrating now.
Well, the Clemson game for us on Labor Day didn't start till 8, and Scott here, he didn't make it. He got a little heat exhaustion, and he was like had to take some time in the medical tent. So
it was heat exhaustion.
We've been picking on him ever since.
Actually, see, here's the deal. It was heat exhaustion.
Oh, no alcohol involved in that?
None at all. No. I drink water all day, and I should have drank something else. But as the hour or so went on that I was in there, I got air conditioning, I got cool down. I was sitting in my seat by time for kickoff. Okay. Just for the record, everybody should know that by now. But I was sitting in my seat by these guys cheering us on as we beat Clemson that night. For the record, also.
Yeah, you guys handled Clemson. You didn't beat. I mean, you legitimately beat Clemson.
Could have been a shutout for sure. For sure. We'll transition a little bit more to the game this Saturday. And once again, Brady, thanks for being on the Section 17 podcast. But thinking about this Saturday's matchup in Durham at Wallace Wade Stadium as Notre Dame comes to town. How does a team stop the rushing attack that Notre Dame brings to the table? I mean, Audric Estime with 591 yards, 5 touchdowns so far. He's averaging 7.7 yards per carry, which is like insane. How does a team like Duke, or how does any team really game plan for something like that?
It's tough. I think, Estime is really the headliner because of his productivity. But, I mean, even this past week, you saw kind of some of the younger players too. Jeremiah Love is a freshman, number 12. You'll see him. He's got extreme speed. So they've got a stable of backs. I think you rely on guys, like a Dwayne Carter, who is an all ACC player last year. He's, to me, kind of like the anchor, interior defensive lineman on your defense. Those guys have to get penetration. They have to stop a big back like that before he gets started. That's the case. I don't care if you're talking about Derrick Henry. Back in the day, we used to always say that about like Jamal Lewis. Then I played with Jamal, so it was a little different. Now you're like, how do we get this guy started? When you got a 230, 235-pound back who – when he gets in the second level, like those DBs don't want anything to do with a lot of that abuse. Like you got to figure out a way of stopping him before he gets a full head of steam. And so it's going to be pivotal for the front seven, and in particular the interior defensive linemen, to not be pushed around and try to find ways of getting penetration. That's usually where it stops. Look, Coach Elko is one of the best defensive minds in the game. So he's going to have a much better idea and game plan than I'm going to have. I think, the one thing that concerns you is when you've got a quarterback like Sam Hartman, though, is devoting too much time and attention to stopping the run because you've got a guy who can spit the football out to some of the playmakers. And it doesn't matter if it's, Jaden Thomas, who's a big body target on the outside. They've got a couple freshman wide receivers, Rico Flores, who came up with a big catch in this past week's game. Jaden Greathouse has been great all year for them. Chris Tyree's been a big-time playmaker in the slot for Notre Dame. So all those guys have a lot of speed, and they're hard to cover in open space. And then they've got 3 different tight ends that rotating and can all make catches and make plays. So That's really the fine line is can you win early downs to put Notre Dame in more predictable 3rd and longs where they have to throw, and then you can try to have blitz or pressure. But, to sell out and stopping the run, you got to be careful about the big plays. Ask NC State. That was kind of what hurt them, really. I mean, overall, with the exception of about 5-6 plays, they did really well defensively versus Notre Dame. But unfortunately, those 5 or 6 plays, like three of them went up going for touchdowns and ends up being the difference in the game.
Speaking of that loaded Notre Dame roster, because they're absolutely loaded, what's an under the radar player that Duke fans should be aware of for Saturday night?
Man, I always like talking about the trenches. Like I mentioned Dwayne Carter because he's an Ohio kid, right? He's from Pickerington, Ohio. They've gotten really good as far as high school football goes. So I always got to talk about my Ohio guys because that's where I'm from. Man, I would say like one guy who kind of flies under the radar, doesn't get talked out of much, is probably Riley Mills. He's their D tackle, big number 99. He's one of the more impactful players, at least as far as kind of anchoring everything up front and kind of creating a mess. And not saying that Duke can't throw the football. I think we'd all agree, though, they're not the most prolific passing offense. It's more about, stopping the ground attack, Raleigh Leonard being a part of that. And so he's going to be a big key there, kind of anchoring more of the interior of the defensive front for Notre Dame. But that's a name to keep an eye on for sure. I think their entire linebacking core, whether it's Maris Lufau, J.D. Bertrand, Jalen Sneed had a really good game this past week too. He's been slowly stepping up too. Kaiser, like the entire linebacking core, obviously is going to be huge for Notre Dame defensively in order to stop Duke's rushing attack.
So what would you say, if there is one, what has been the biggest weakness so far for Notre Dame?
Man, it's tough. I really. It's hard to really like point out one thing in particular because they've been great running the football. Defensively, they've been pretty sound the whole time. Sam Hartman's taking care of the football. I mean, look, you missed a field goal last week. I mean, maybe that's something you point to. I don't know that there's been a huge advantage from a special teams standpoint. Maybe that's something that you go back to last year. I think Notre Dame blocked like 7 kicks or something ridiculous. So I guess if you're holding last year as the standard, that's probably the thing that sticks out a little bit is you're not getting quite as big of plays from the special teams right now, which again, I don't know that anyone does expect to get as many block kicks as they did. But that's probably like the biggest difference is like when the special teams come on the field, you weren't like getting up to go grab another beer or go like switch the channel or whatever to go to the bathroom. You're like, all right, let's see if they block this one. I mean, it became like a thing by the end of the season.
I know one of the things watching the game Saturday night was just their speed overall. They're just lightning quick. And a back's coming, a receiver catches a football. They're right there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like instantaneous.
And that's honestly, like I said this on our pregame show on Fox, this is the most talented Notre Dame team that I've seen, at least in my lifetime, that I can recollect, right? Like I don't remember the 88 championship team really. You could probably talk about some of those 90s teams too, under Holtz, that were extremely talented too. But from my time playing and thinking about our roster and previous rosters, whether it's under, Charlie Weiss or Brian Kelly, this is a group of like all these kids. Especially in the secondary, they're long, they have speed, they have good coverage skills. They're all going to have, opportunity to play on Sundays. It's different. Like it's a credit to Marcus Freeman. It's a credit to the group has done a good job recruiting kind of what they need to have, but also their development in the weight room. And that's why, like, going back to that strength coach conversation that they lost, obviously, before the season, like that's going to be a big hire in the offseason for them. That's not a position that they filled before the season. So we'll see what happens there. But they are at the skill position as deep and as talented as I can recall in a long time. And that's why I feel like last week's game, when you go back and watch that, they matched up. They eliminated Marvin Harrison again. That's 2 years in a row. Emeka Egbuka had a good game, had some nice catches, but Notre Dame probably is looking back at the tape saying, man, there's a couple opportunities there that we had that we didn't make. And if we do, like, none of this is, we're not talking about Notre Dame coming off a loss right now.
Yeah, for sure. Well, last question, Brady, for you. Obviously, not many weaknesses on this Notre Dame team. This Duke team playing with confidence, coming off that 9-4 season, coming off the Clemson victory, and then 3 blowouts really of non-conference play. If Duke is to beat Notre Dame this Saturday, it's because of what?
Gosh, there's probably 3 or 4 things that I'd point to. This is like the number one scoring defense right now in the ACC, and in part because they're so good in the red zone defense, and that's like a calling card of Coach Elko. But the other thing is they don't give up big plays. I want to say like you get the fewest right now, maybe in the ACC, probably fewest or tops in the country in regards to 20+ yard plays. And then turnovers, like that's ultimately going to always be the factor. You go back to that Clemson game too, and that big win. Number of turnovers, the way they were able to get stops in the red zone. That's always going to be the case. Especially considering how the season's gone for them so far. But if they can continue to be able to run the football, control the line of scrimmage, and stop Notre Dame's rushing attack, like I think that combination of things is how Duke ends up finding a win.
Awesome. Well, Brady, I know I speak for the rest of the guys and Brian on vacation, but we really appreciate you coming on the podcast. One more time, tell us again the website for your foundation in case anybody wants to check that out.
Yeah, it's called Third and Goal Foundation, and you can just Google search 3andg.com, 3andg.com to find out more information and ways in which you can help. But we're all for just kind of helping veterans in whatever way we can. Operation Home, Operation Education, and Operation Joy are kind of our 3 main pillars. So again, thank you guys for having me on. Thank you for giving me a chance to talk about it too.
Brady, have a great day, man.
Thank you, guys.
And thank you to Brady Quinn for sitting down. Really cool conversation. And guys, that was pretty cool, wasn't it? Got
Oh yeah, that was great. Super cool guy, and
a beautiful man. Really a beautiful man.
Well, I was going to let you say that because I didn't want to be the person that said it, knowing that you were the one that said it. But yeah, I mean, really, just he knows his football, and enjoy listening to him as he does NFL games and some college games on Saturdays and stuff. So,
kind of felt bad for him that he has to go to Charlotte and do the Panthers game on Sunday, but it is what it is.
But hey, at least the plus side is he's going to be in God's country, Rocky Mountain High, out in Boulder again for whatever reason, because Fox loves Boulder.
Yep. Well, well, listen, we are now turning the page. Duke's got an incredibly important game this Saturday. And, the way this worked out is we got the news, earlier before the UConn game that it was going to be the ABC 7:30 game. And so that was going to be good enough. We knew we'd have Herbie and the gang on the call. It was going to be awesome. It was going to be a lot of fun. There was a lot of talk going back and forth about, what would College Game Day do Saturday morning. There's that video released of Lee Corso saying it doesn't matter what happens today. Let's go to Durham. I want to go to Durham. We've never been. And then was it about 9:30 Saturday night? The news hit that they were coming to Durham for the first time ever. And so Duke will be, it was just announced today on Monday that this is going to be at the Duke Chapel. As of the time of this recording, we have not yet gotten information on parking. We think that potentially the H lot, which is off of Anderson Street, potentially maybe the parking area, and they may shuttle fans over to the chapel. We're not sure of that. That is by no means official. No one has even told us that. We're just thinking that will be a natural place. That lot does not open until later on in the day anyway. And so we don't know. Keep your eyes open, obviously, to your email if you get Duke emails. If you don't get Duke emails, we'll share on social as soon as we find out what parking is going to look like. But we know this. Game day is from 9 a.m. to 12, and it's going to be in Durham, North Carolina this week, guys.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. I was able to go. I don't know if Josh, if you were able to go the one other time, it was in the area where it was not over at Chapel Hill. It was over to see Miami play NC State.
Yeah, I didn't go to that
there. It was there at PNC. I can remember everything about that game that afternoon. The fair was going on. It was the night that Devin Hester took the opening kickoff back for a touchdown, and all the air in Carter Finley went, and it was ugly from there on. But yeah, looking forward to it. Really hoping for a good mix of fans to be out there. Did see on Twitter, and just for the heck of it, because I saw this on Twitter, I'm definitely going to point it out that we don't want to see anybody wearing light blue. You guys aren't playing Saturday in Durham. You're playing over where you're not even playing Saturday. So go play your croquet or whatever the crap people do over in Chapel Hill. and you let the big boys play football on Saturday night, and you sit back and watch and learn something.
Or listen, if you're a Carolina fan and you really want to be a part of the game day experience, come and find us. We'll give you a Section 17 podcast T-shirt to wear, and you can stand quietly beside us, clap when we clap, yell when we yell, and that's all. That's all you can do there. But listen, it's that time, guys. You know what time it is. We hear from you every week. You guys send us a ton of questions, whether it be on Twitter, on Facebook, sometimes to our email, which is dukefbtalk@gmail.com. Jamie, it's been a busy week, my friend. And let's hit these questions, man.
It has. And in honor of Brian, who was on a cruise, I'm going to go through all of them. So that would be right up his alley. We're going to start on Facebook. Jeff Hunsucker. Does it look like the offensive line will be at full strength? Monk got dinged up, and Pickett has been dealing with some issues as well. I know Josh was at the press conference. Did Coach speak on that at all?
Yes. So he said two things about the injuries. First of all, Jalen Coleman was back. Actually, I said that. But then I asked Coach about the others. Miles Jones was really kept out for precautionary reasons for this game. I feel like had this been the Notre Dame game, I'm pretty sure Miles would have been playing. But that's why they kept him out. And then Justin Pickett practiced Monday. So he did practice. And Coach said it's kind of just figuring out if he's going to be ready to go by Saturday. But he is back practicing after that elbow issue.
All good news right there. And going on to the game day theme, Matt Memrick on Facebook says, is there any creative game day sign ideas? Will there be any shots at UNC? Which I'm sure there will be.
I mean, if there's not a GTHC sign out there somewhere, I'm going to be upset.
There's got to be. There's got to be.
Freddie, you had some stuff to say about game day in general, right?
Yeah, just to back up real quick, it was, I believe, 7 Power 5 schools that have never hosted game day. And the Bear, when he used to work for Game Day last year, I was looking through his tweets and everything. Of course, things have changed. California, Duke, Illinois, Maryland, Rutgers, Syracuse, Virginia are the 7 Power 5 schools that hadn't hosted game day.
Okay.
So you can take Duke off that list. It's 6 schools now. Sorry, UVA. I live in Virginia, but hey, we've got game day, and I'm excited. So it's great to get it off that.
Guys, man. I think Freddie and Brian are very similar. They come with these facts, man. You know, like the research. I'm impressed, man. Color me impressed, Freddie.
It's a little bit of the teacher in me, and it's a little bit of looking at schedules and all that, man. But on to your thing about the game day signs, I think they're gonna bring it. We know the Cameron Crazies. We know the mindset of them. We've seen dirt sheets in basketball, and this is a football game. The creative minds of the Duke students, I'm excited to be there and just see what kind of signs they come up with. For Notre Dame, the research that they do on it and everything, I think we're going to see some epic signs. Is it the Washington State flag? It might be flying in the background.
Oh, it will be.
The game day tradition. Yeah, the game day tradition. But I'm thinking you're going to see some amazing signs at this, and it's going to be an epic experience.
I would say if you're going to do a sign, and this is one, it may be a dumb one, so forgive me, but fake classes are 8 miles away.
Never dumb to take shots at UNC.
I mean, that's what they're there for, right?
Right.
Yeah. I agree. At least a couple UNC shots.
Yeah.
On posters,
So shout out to the Devil's Den. So I was talking to Adam Rowe today. They've got a thread. I'm going to read some of them to you from their. I don't know if I should do this from their VIP boards. My bad, but I'm going to read some stuff off their VIP boards. Adam, I'm sorry if I'm not supposed to do that. One of them that I thought about for kind of a dig at Notre Dame from their heartbreaking loss this past week was, FYI, 11 defensive players can play every play. Thought that would be interesting since on the last play of the last possession, they only had 10 guys. Here are some. I'm going to go through some of these. Rudy was offsides. Of course, Raleigh Leonard sucks. Notre Dame can't count to 11. That's pretty good. Let's see here. Notre Dame independently losing since 1887. Immaculate misconception. Need 11 players on the field.
Which is kind of hilarious because they almost didn't score with 10 players on the field.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Here's a funny one. Not sure that it works with Notre Dame, but it's great. Mac Brown pisses himself. I thought that was pretty good. Another Carolina shot. Where's Tez? That's a good one. Let's see here. Oh man.
And for what it's worth, if you're listening, there will be someone there looking at your signs, and if they don't like it, they will take it from you. Just FYI, ESPN will do that.
Yeah, this is a good one. And only certain people are going to get this and I can't pronounce the last name, but it's Lene Kakua was the 11th defender. Do y'all know who that is?
That's
Mateo's girlfriend.
Yeah. That's amazing.
That is incredible.
So
anyway,
yeah, that's going to be a good one.
So our guy,
I have to give that. Actually, I can tell you who did that one, and I'm done. But that was Ben Swain on that board. So that's a classic.
That's not surprising. Yeah, that's not surprising.
What are some? Any of you guys have some other ideas?
Where our guy Noah Lunsford actually said on our Facebook is Rudy offside sign overdone. So he mentioned that. And I say to Noah that I'm looking forward to seeing his signs, because that's going to be amazing. If anybody knows Noah, that's going to be flat out amazing.
Sure. Well, you're probably going to see, and we got to work on this. You're probably going to see a big fat Section 17 podcast logo sign just up there too. But yeah, I think there's going to be some good stuff. Duke, as Freddie mentioned, I mean, listen, the students are known for their creativity. They're going to research. They're going to get some stuff out there. Honestly, other than them losing on the last play to Ohio State, this season they've not really given anything to make fun of. They've been dominant in all of their performances, and really, I mean, as we talked about with Brady, they should have won that game. They should have beaten. They outplayed Ohio State at the end of the day, and so there's not really much to make fun of on this year's team. So you got to kind of go back to the past. I think Duke fans will come through.
And I usually don't do this, but there was a question on Twitter or X that was game day related, so I added it to this one. At Duke of Cupa adds, what are our top 3 guest pickers? And I'll take this one first since I'm already unmuted and talking, but I'm going to go number 1. I'm going to go Daniel Jones, just because he's in the NFL.
Because Brian's not in the game.
Yeah, he's a starting quarterback in the NFL. I think he's got a Monday night game we had talked about earlier, so maybe that's a guy. Steve Spurrier is who I would pick next, and then I would go off the cuff, and I would go the good doctor, Dr. Ken Jeong from The Masked Singer, from Dr. Ken, whatever that show was.
Hangover.
Hangover, just a hilarious
Leslie Chow.
Yeah, just a hilarious guy. And if they have to go basketball related,
Don't take my guy. Don't take my guy, Jamie. Leave him.
Okay, I'm leaving him.
Speaking of beautiful men, leave him.
Send it to you, Josh.
I know where Jamie was going. We talked about this earlier today, and he can't be taking everybody. He's like Brian. I'll take the offensive line for anyway. Okay, so I actually agree with Jamie on the top 2, but I would flip him. I think number 1 is Steve Spurrier. I think it's great. He is so recognizable. He's already been back to Durham once this year for the Clemson game, kind of to a weird because Clemson fans were booing him because he was the South Carolina coach, and then Duke fans were cheering for him. So it was like a 50-50 split. He could come back this time. He would be 100% embraced by the crowd, I believe. Steve Spurrier 1, Daniel Jones 2 for the same reasons. Monday night game. Who knows? They fly him in and fly him back out, so it shouldn't take too long for DJ to do that. But my third, and I am anti-basketball on this. I do not want to see basketball. Listen, y'all gonna disagree with me. I get it. I don't want to see Coach K up there. Coach K don't give a crap about Duke football. I don't want to see John Shire up there, and he gives a little bit of a crap about Duke football. Here's who I do want to see up there. I want to see the man, number 4, the shooter, the podcaster, the NBA analyst, the dad, the husband, the former NBA great. That's right, Mr. Jonathan Clay Reddick. JJ Reddick is the only answer if we're going to go basketball.
Okay. I think I'm going to go on my hill here. I'm on the soapbox. I think I went and stepped out here Saturday night with this whole anti-basketball stuff, and I just want to make sure it's nothing personal. This is football. It's football.
Hey, listen, Scott, full disclosure. I was at the presser today and was talking to Nina King in the hallway, told her straight to her face. She was like, "What do you think about the guest picker and all this stuff?" I said, "Just keep basketball away from it." And she started laughing. So I have no idea what that means, but that's what happened.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, now see, I'm an old school guy because I'm much older than everybody else in this group. So I was thinking really old. I was thinking Ben Bennett. Now, granted, I understand the word guest picker celebrity is not these guys. So obviously, ESPN know these people and know who half of these people are. But I'm with ball coach. I think he would be perfect. I'm sure his grandson would love to see him again. I'm with Dr. Ken. I'm okay with that because he's a funny dude. I would like to see, and this is just because he has local ties and everything like that. I would like to see them ask Stanley Monk to do it because Jacob's on the team. Now, they know. I have two other write-ins, the hard hat guys, and 3 Section 17 guys that are here that are not on the boat. But those last two folks they're not going to read the write-in there. They're going to mark through that and throw those away.
I'm going to add my 3 in here, and I may be a little controversial right here. And you guys know I cover Duke basketball, right?
Bring it on, Freddie. We're ready, man. We're ready.
I'm going to bring it. Hey, and you're not going to hurt my feelings. I don't have bad hair days or anything, so I can take it. Number one, it's got to be Coach K, and I'm going to tell you why here after I go through my other ones. Number 2, Dr. Ken. Ken would be great. Game day. The guest picker, it's not always football related. It's sometimes y'all help me out. It hadn't been country music singers. I'm not.
Oh yeah. You've had Matthew McConaughey. You've had you've had country guys. Who Scott knows better.
Well, I'd say if you want to pick 3 Duke fans that are celebrities.
Wait, you gotta let Freddie finish, man.
Well, okay. I'm sorry, Freddie.
He's our guest, Scott.
But yeah,
that's so rude, Scott. We talked about this before we went on air. I'm just kidding.
So Ken at number 2, Dr. Ken, because I mean The Hangover, the movie, the personality, he would bring it. Him and Pat McAfee, them two on the stage together, epic. It would be great. I have a 3A and a 3B. I have a tie here, and it's going to go with a couple of y'all's. Jay Billis. If ESPN's going to keep it with their crew, y'all correct me. Is JJ still with the NBA and all that? I'm pretty sure. Is that right?
Yeah, I think he's technically with ESPN, but it's NBA only. But yeah. So
yeah. So he's still with ESPN.
Yep.
So I got 3A, 3B. Jay Billis and JJ Riddick. Jay Billis just giving his smart comments and things like that, or JJ Riddick, bringing the all-time scorer. JJ grew up a few miles from me. That would be awesome. Now here's why it's number 1. It needs to be Coach K. Celebrity, yes. Biggest impact on Duke. Yeah. He's built a Duke basketball empire, but we're not talking about that right now. Has he had a positive impact on Duke? Yes. And he has had a positive, in my opinion, impact on Duke football. As a basketball guy, just real quick, I've been to every Countdown to Craziness is their midnight event. I've been to every one since it started in 2009 up until the last one. In 2008, it was called the Blue and White Game. Coach Cutcliffe's first year. What did they do for the Midnight Madness? They invited Coach Cutcliffe and the players to do the Blue Devil Walk at one of the breaks in the blue versus white scrimmage. And the players in Cutcliffe came across the Cameron Indoor Court and they shook hands with the players, the assistant coaches at the time, and Coach K. So I saw that Coach K was trying to help Cutcliffe, a new guy on the scene, bring them in on Duke basketball. Everybody knows Duke basketball, the Midnight Madness, count the CTC, and he brought them in, and he did that for Duke football. Cutcliffe, he brought us to bowl games. He did all that. And so I can see Coach K being the pick because of, just his connections with what he did with Cutcliffe. Even though he's retired now, you want that. I think College Game Day goes for the heat, goes for the pick, goes for the celebrity, and I can't think of anybody else bigger than that.
I heard one kind of off the radar that I hadn't heard, but he was at the Clemson game, and somebody mentioned why not Derek Lively, and I was like, he was really into the football game. His cousin plays for the football team, and like Freddie says, we've been seeing some positive interactions with the basketball team and the football team. I've been noticing the basketball players at the Blue Devil walk and high fiving the football players, and it's been nice to see the positive interactions that they have on probably a daily basis.
Well, let me throw 3 more names out there just for and it's not me picking, but these are people who play other sports. One would be, and now baseball's in session, so these first 2 guys will not be there. Mike Trout is a big Duke fan. Bryce Harper is a big Duke fan. One other guy that just retired, and his number's getting ready to be retired, I do believe, for the Orioles, Adam Jones. That's a big name.
Mm-hmm.
And then one other local guy that didn't play football here in college.
I got it.
Todd
Gurley.
He's
Todd
a
Gurley?
big Duke.
That's
would
my
be
guy.
perfect. Todd Gurley would be the perfect guy to bring. He's a North Carolina kid.
Yep.
I mean, will they? Who knows? But he's not playing football. So that's a perfect opportunity for ESPN to stay in the same lane.
Yeah, so Scott, I actually like that, and he was my 4th guy. I mean, I think he actually lives locally too. I believe he's got a place over in Wake County somewhere. Tiger is a huge fan. He comes to several Duke basketball games. He's at every big one. So yeah, I think that could be cool too. So anyway, that's a long time for that one question. We were waiting on that though. We were geared up for that one. So hey, listen, at the end of the day, it's completely cool. Whoever they pick, it's going to be fun. And I'm looking forward to it. It doesn't matter because you know what? Game day's in Durham. That's all that matters.
So one more game day related question. Tyler Lester, this is going to be a long time joke forever now, says he's assuming we will be in B5 early. He wants to make sure me and Scott are taken care of, that I'm not falling over random flagpoles laying in the ground, and Scott's not falling over at the Scott Medlin Memorial medical room.
In all seriousness, I'm going to say this half joking, half serious. For all you artists out there, if you would like to make a Scott Medlin Memorial sign and bring it to the game, I will happily have my picture taken outside of the place with it on the wall. Because the videos and stuff we've been sending, my wife didn't believe the story that I told her. And this is inside information. Here you go. She didn't believe the story that I told her originally, that I'd completely passed out from what Josh was saying and all this other stuff. And I told her, no, I didn't completely pass out. It just seemed like I did because I was laying down. She's like, are you sure? I'm like, just trust me. Josh would never lie. And she's like, oh, God. So,
and then Scott's like, and then I looked up and there were Brian's middle fingers. And I knew everything was good. Everything was good. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to take care of Jamie. We're going to take care of Scott. Freddie, are you going to be there all day Saturday? Do you have plans? What's your plan?
Yes, I am going to be there all day. Originally, I was coming later. I'm bringing my wife to this game. It'll be her first Duke football game this season.
Yeah.
I am bringing a Notre Dame fan. He's excited. He's a friend,
too.
and
I am too.
and he's got to check out the atmosphere. And I'm coming down. I live a couple hours away. I'm still figuring out the logistics and everything, but I will be at game day. I will be in the parking lot hanging out with you guys. I'm excited to finally tailgate.
Awesome. Yeah.
I think I'm working the game. We'll see where that's at.
Hey, we may have an inside. Let me know. We may have a hookup. Yeah.
We're gonna figure that out.
Yeah.
Hey, Freddie's a hiker. 1-0.
Yeah,
Freddie's wife's 1-0.
Yep.
So
that's right. Yeah. So,
and she's also a hiker. So you guys are in shape. So maybe you can help us if anything goes wrong. We're looking to Freddie and Freddie's wife. They're going to take care of us, get us where we need to go. So,
all right.
Give me a Mountain Dew and I'm ready.
There you go.
All right, we're going to move on to some more game related questions now. Peter Dodge on Facebook. He said he asked himself, is it easier to prep for Sam Hartman in the slow mesh or the pro style offense? And he goes on for some numbers here. After 5 games in 2023, Sam Hartman has 1,236 yards, 14 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, only 9 rushing yards. And after 5 games in 2022, he had 1,442 yards, 16 touchdowns and 2 interceptions with 64 rushing yards. So what do you guys think? I mean, I think that's they're kind of even stats pretty much. The rushing yards are not going to really be there anyways because Sam Hartman he's not really a threat to run.
I would say that he's got a beast back there. He turns around and just hands the ball to him and lets him rush because he's got 579, I think it is, something like that on the season. So
yeah, he's only averaging 7.7 yards per carry.
I mean, only 7.7.
Yeah.
But he has more weapons here too. Let's be honest. I think the Notre Dame weapons and the O-line, Sam Hartman's never had an O-line like what he's got right now.
Yeah. I mean, Coach Elko mentioned it. He was asked this question, a similar question today at his presser, and he just mentioned that you really can't look at what he did at Wake Forest and really compare it to what he's doing right now. I mean, it's just two completely different offenses, different sets of weapons, obviously different coordinators. Everything's different. And so you got to really read him, as a fresh new quarterback there. So I agree with that. I think that mesh is so weird. You can't really look back at it.
All right. Joseph Miller on Facebook. What do we think Duke will be ranked if they beat Notre Dame? So once again, folks, we can look ahead because we're just podcasters, fans.
Yeah, that's my favorite. If I can get on a quick fan soapbox here, stop telling us to stop looking ahead. We are not on the team. We don't play. We're not doing pregame speeches. We're not coaches. We can look ahead. We can look ahead to the last week of the season if we want to, because that's what we do. So, so that's a good question. Freddie, let you go first, man. What do you think if Duke beats Notre Dame? They're currently, 16 and 17? Is that right? That's where we're sitting in the polls?
We're 16 in the coaches poll and 17 in the AP.
All right, what do you think, Freddie? We beat Notre Dame at home. Where does Duke wind up?
I did a deep dive on this question, so stop me if I go too far, man. I think we are ranked number 11. Okay. And here's my reasoning behind it. I went through the schedule, and if I'm talking too much on this one, let me know. Georgia is going to beat Auburn 15.5 points. I don't think we can crack the top 9. I think Georgia wins. Michigan's 17-point favorite. Texas 17-point favorite. Ohio State is off. FSU is off, I believe. Penn State 26-point favorite over Northwestern. I think Washington State beats Arizona. USC beats Colorado. Oregon beats Stanford, 27-point favorite. I'm just going through thinking that the top 9 are going to stay solid. Where it could get tricky is Utah playing Oregon State. And even though Utah's number 10, Oregon State is a 2.5-point favorite. I think the highest we can be ranked is probably number 10 if there's a slip up right there. But I'm going to stick with number 11, which is actually where Notre Dame is ranked. I think we get the win. We get a great win. Notre Dame plummets, and we go to number 11. Now, how do we bypass the other teams? Here's my reasoning behind it. Washington State is at 16. They're off week. UNC off week. Oklahoma is playing Iowa State, and they're a 21-point favorite. That's a win. LSU is playing Ole Miss. LSU has a loss. I think if Duke pulls off this and beats Notre Dame, we should not only climb ahead of the teams that are on bye weeks, we should surpass LSU and even Alabama because they have 1 loss. So, in my opinion, I'm not the AP or whatever. I think at number 11 is where I'm going to go with.
Dang. Okay, cosign. I got nothing to say. That was beautiful. It was a beautiful monologue.
Yeah, I think we can move on unless Scott's got something.
All I was going to say is maybe be a 10. A 10.
I give it a 9.5.
Now, let me say this. I'm gonna go number 11, but if we beat Notre Dame by 3 if we do what we did to Clemson, then we should crack the top 10 easily. I'm going to say even a close win, 3 points, 7 points, number 11.
No, I like how you put that, Freddie. It was good research. He's taking Brian's spot once again. Michael Galipo on Facebook, and if I'm not pronouncing that, Michael, please tell me. Any concerns that our running game was subpar versus UConn, only 2.7 yards per carry, or was it just taking what the D gave Duke? Feels like they need much better than 2.7 a carry to have a shot versus Notre Dame.
Is it concerning? I mean, slightly. Yeah, it's a little bit concerning. I mean, even if as Coach Elko said, he knew that their front 6 or 7 basically is the identity of their football team. And they knew that they were going to sell out to the run. Honestly, you still wish that your lanes would open up there and you get a little bit more yards per carry. And so is it a little bit concerning? I mean, it's a little bit, but I mean, we're still looking at Jordan Waters with over 6 yards a carry. We're in 4 games. We're looking at Jordan Waters with 7 touchdowns in 4 games. We're looking at Jacquez Moore. We're looking at Jalen Coleman getting back healthy. Got out there. I believe he got 3 carries in the game, and that's not even mentioning Peyton Jones. So I'm a little bit nervous. I'm more nervous, I guess, on the offensive line side. We've had some pre-snap penalties earlier on in the year with that offensive line. Depending on Justin Pickett's status, will we be at 100% on the line this Saturday? Those are the questions I have. But yeah, I'm a little bit concerned, and honestly, we've got to be able to run the ball somewhat, and in order to keep them guessing a little bit. Riley definitely doesn't need to sit back there and just throw the ball the whole game.
All right. I wasn't too terribly concerned, but I feel like, once again, UConn sold out to stop the run. We didn't see many design runs from Raleigh, which gives us a big portion of our running yards. So I think we're okay, but it's something that we're definitely going to want to see better against Notre Dame, or else things could go south. John Householder on Facebook. How concerned are we, speaking about the lines, actually the offensive line, defensive line, how concerned are we about the lines in this matchup? Watching Notre Dame, it's pretty clear that they're, of course, at a much higher level than anything we've seen this year. And our O-line seems to be having some discipline problems already with several kind of silly penalties. And yet Notre Dame's offensive line is full of just big boys. I mean, those guys are going to be in the NFL. So what do you guys think?
I mean, if you look honestly as a whole, the 22 that they have, period, are probably all going to be NFL players at some point in time. But their O-line and their D-line is very good. It's very big. One of the things Coach mentioned today in the press conference, though, about our O-line was they didn't hold the blocks as long as they could have. So that was some of the reason why they were getting a little bit of that penetration and getting in there and getting to the backfield a little quicker. So that's definitely something we want to see do a better job of. Defensive line, I mean, like I say, hopefully we'll get to see the 5 guys harassing the running backs and Sam Hartman. And honestly, this may be a question down the road. I think we're going to see Brandon Johnson see a lot of Sam Hartman on Saturday night in the backfield.
Anybody else got anything else? All right, moving on to Regina Lee, representing from Cali. I thought this was a funny question. How does Marcus Freeman feel about the length of the walk from the visitors' locker room to the field? Because Dabo is still crying.
Man, that's a great question, Regina. That's awesome. Well, I would say this. I mean, Marcus Freeman he's a sharp dressed man, right? And my man's got his one of the signature things he does is he wears those clean white tennis shoes. And so it is a long walk. And guess what, Coach Freeman? It's not on concrete. Like I guess you can walk it on concrete, but man, you got to walk through the practice field, bro. You got to have those clean white shoes that's going to get some mud or some dirt on them, man. I just want to let you know. And it is a long walk. Dabo knows. Let me tell you something. The walk is longer after you get beat 28-7 than it was at the beginning of the game too. It's even longer. And so we'll see. I'm not talking smack to Notre Dame. I'm just saying if you lose, the walk feels a little bit longer, doesn't it, Freddie?
Yeah, I'll add in. I don't think he's worried about the walk. I think with the way they lost to Ohio State, with that fan base as passionate as they are, he's got a lot on his mind that he might need that walk to get ready and everything. So, you best believe Notre Dame is going to bring their A game. So the last thing he's worried about is the walk, unlike somebody else.
And let's be honest, Marcus Freeman is a great coach, and it's one of the guys that was on Duke's radar to start with until Notre Dame locked him up really quickly, which was a smart move by Notre Dame. Michael Martino on Facebook. Chances Raleigh Leonard stays for one more year. I mean, I'm gonna go 50-50. Just because. I mean, you just don't know when you get to the end of the year what the stats look like, what everything looks like. What does it look like next year? What's the quarterback class look like next year? Can he move further up the board next year? It's possible. So, what do you guys think?
Here's my thought process. I heard this on ACC Network last Friday, I think. I met maybe 2 weeks ago. And I may have mentioned this to you guys, or I may have mentioned it on here. Looking at the top 10 as of right now projected in the NFL draft, Raleigh is not in the top 10. So, what does that say to me? That tells me Raleigh come back one more season. Duke's schedule next year helps his stock go way up. That's my big thing. And honestly, if you're 15 now, with the schedule they'll have, with the incoming class and all this other stuff, he has a chance to move into the top 7 or 8, or maybe in the top 5, depending on what kind of numbers he puts up. Because if he puts up Daniel Jones' numbers, he's going to possibly get Daniel Jones drafting there in the top 10 to 15. So that's my thought process. I've heard other coaches and on the same having that same conversation. Coach Rick said that he thought Raleigh Leonard comes back one more season, he could be the Steve Young type player. He could be one of the all-time greats in ACC history if he comes back for the next season.
I mean, it's for me, I'd say I was first like 50-50, but I'm leaning, 60-40 he comes back. If he comes back one more year, he could climb that top tier into the top 10, with the way he's playing and everything. I don't follow a lot of mock drafts and everything, but I saw one where he was in the upper first round, and then I've seen, the other quarterbacks who are in front of him right now. But at the same time, if we beat Notre Dame, if we keep playing good, let's say that we keep going undefeated. I don't know, because sometimes you get hurt in college, you got to look at that. But I'm 60-40,
Yeah.
even probably 60 plus. He's coming back.
So those are all good thoughts. I think you guys are all kind of spot on. We're all kind of saying the same thing. I mean, number one, selfishly, obviously we all hope he comes back. I mean, he's such an awesome kid. We get to interact with him with the media some and interviews, and like you want to have another year, with him at the head of this, this offense and really this team. Number one, but number two, the reality is this. If Duke continues to be successful, it's going to be because Riley Leonard is also being successful. And at the end of the day, if you have a first round lock, you have a team who says, "Hey, listen, we're picking at this, position. If you're there, we're going to take you." It's hard. It's very difficult to say no to that. I will tell you this, and that Riley Leonard's a smart kid. Riley Leonard's got a lot of intelligence. He has figured out a way to compartmentalize that talk and compartmentalize that NFL future that's ahead of him. And he is 100% not focused on it. He's 100% focused on what's going on now. When we mentioned it to him just briefly in passing, when we had our Durham Devils Club conversation with him, it was like, he was like, "I don't even know what you guys are talking about." So like, he's got a unique way of zoning in. And so, to answer that question, I think you three guys spoke to it, but he's not thinking about it until after the season. That's for sure.
And if he does leave, Jamie, it's going to be heartbreaking, especially if he goes to the Saints or somebody else in the NFC South.
That would be rough. Tanya Martin Horning wanted us to give a plug for some stuff they're doing over at supportdukehealth.org. They're doing a 5K to raise money for colorectal cancer. They're also doing a game day tailgate. So I was going to shout out Tanya, if you're listening, definitely share this on our Facebook account and tag us on Twitter, and we'll be glad to help out for a great cause. Moving on, Drew Cheshire. He says he hates
who will not be at the game this Saturday.
Yeah. He says he hates looking ahead with so much football left to be played. But what does next year's roster look like?
Ooh.
And it's tough because we're losing some guys that we've become close to, some families we become close to. Like it's going to be kind of tough next year.
I mean, if you look at the lineup that CBS Sports put on the screen Saturday for the offense, 8 of the 11 are SRs or GRs.
Yep. Now we do
That's
have one more year of some of these guys
yes.
being able to use the COVID year if they want. I believe there's one more year of that. But I mean, if you just think about the major contributors on this roster, you've got Jordan Waters, Jalen Coleman, you got Jalen Calhoun, Nicky Dalmolin, Graham Barton, Jacob Monk. I mean, let's just go down the line. Elliott transfer, Hornibrook transfer. Hornibrook may have an additional year. I believe he has an additional year. But that's just on the offensive side of the ball. And then you look on the defensive side of the ball, and you've got guys like R.J. Oben and Dwayne Carter and Jamion Franklin and Aeneas Peebles and,
Miles Jones,
Anthony Nelson
Al
and Miles
Blades.
Jones, Al Blades. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of turnover. And so
Cam Dillon.
Cam Dillon, yeah. Back to what we spoke about, Dorian Mosey, I think, or he may be a junior.
I'm gonna need to sign off here, and I gotta collect myself.
I know, bro. I know.
that's a lot.
Cole Finney, and as Scott or Jamie, you mentioned, it's for us. I mean, and we're not trying to sound like dumb here, but like we have gotten to know not just these players but their families, and so there's going to be a lot of people leaving the program. But once again, it's important what Coach Elko mentioned today in his presser is the fact that we have been able to get our 2 deep in these last 3 games and our 3 deep in these last 3 games some playing time, and so I believe Duke fans are just going to get to know some younger guys, and so it'll be these guys coming up are going to be the Elko recruits that are going to be coming in that we're going to see.
And moving on to Twitter, at G_Robertson0316. He asks, what's the best game plan for Estime? Run defense has looked spotty at times this year. And at J. Green adds, how does our defense handle the Notre Dame Russian attack? So it's kind of added those together. Estime, we've already talked about. He's just an absolute beast, averaging 7.7 yards a carry. What do you guys think? What's the best way to go about defending this Notre Dame offensive attack?
I mean, I don't. Even if you put a spy or somebody out there, I don't know how well that works. That's the thing about these big O line. When you get these running backs behind there, sometimes it's hard to see. And this guy, as fast as he is, he only needs a half a second to get into the green grass, and that's going to be that could be an issue. So, I mean, obviously, like many people said, Coach Elko knows what he's doing. Tyler Santucci obviously knows what he's doing. That's why Coach Elko brought him in. We gave him 8 months to prepare for Garrett Riley and their offense. We've only given him 6 days to worry about this offense, but there's still some kind of wrinkle in there. And again, I said it a minute ago, I do think we're going to see a lot of Brandon Johnson blitzing like he did last year towards the end. Or we'll have somebody blitzing. It may not just be Brandon Johnson, but I do think it'll be Brandon Johnson some, and there'll be other guys coming on the other side to kind of mix it up a little bit so they don't know where he's coming from, whoever's coming from.
Yeah, I mean, what do you really do in a situation against Notre Dame? Do you try to stop the run and force Sam Hartman to beat you? I mean, I guess that's the way I would go, but I mean Sam Hartman's having an amazing year. So
yeah, he's thrown 13 touchdowns with no interceptions so far.
Yeah, so what do you want to get beat with? Estime running 7.7 yards a carry, or do you want to? I mean, I'm sure Coach is going to have a game plan, so I'm not even worried about that. So it's out of my league. That's over my head.
Brady Quinn mentioned if you can get to him before he gets his head of steam.
Yeah.
You got to get to him in the backfield before he really gets his head of steam. I mean, that's as good as I come up with.
Right. At Drew Cheshire coming in hot with another question. Will the Blue Devil be given the green light to suplex the most annoying mascot in all of sports, the Notre Dame Leprechaun?
That would be awesome.
If this happens, if I'm in the press box, I'm voting out. I'm coming down. I don't know. Like I said, I may be working. I may not. We're gonna figure that out here. But if it's not happening, I don't think. But if there is a WWE move, as a guy that grew up watching wrestling in the 80s and 90s when it was good to me, if that happens, I'm running out down the stairs. I'm out there and I'm celebrating. But I don't think it's gonna happen.
Here's my question, and Lord forbid I even say this out loud. I'm gonna get in trouble. Is the Leprechaun taller than the Blue Devil?
It depends on who's in the Blue Devil.
And that's my
costume.
question. That's my exact question right there. If it's the same one that was at the walk last week or 2 weeks ago, we in trouble, boys. That suplex from the over that pot of gold is going to happen, and we're going to be in trouble.
I love it. I love it.
Oh, Lord. At Fish Fry 02, what does the coaching staff do to keep the guys focused? I guess he's talking about with all the external stuff this week with College Game Day coming and Pat McAfee doing his show there as well on Friday. Yeah, it's a lot of craziness going on.
I mean, Coach Elko in today's presser, he's made this statement. You can't isolate in 2023. You can't isolate your players from it. So you have to educate them, right? And so he's like, can't isolate them. I think he even said we can't lock them in a closet or anything like that. So like they're going to be exposed to all of it. You have to educate these young men on maturity, on staying focused on the task at hand. And here's the thing. I mean, like if I can promise you this, being around Mike Elko as much as we have, if Mike Elko were on this podcast right now and heard that question, he would say, how many more times do we have to be focused on big games for us to keep getting that question? And I think it is different. I think Duke fans have like PTSD from the pre-Elko era.
Right.
And we were used to Duke not showing up, and we're used to Duke getting sidetracked, and we're used to Duke getting all hyped up for a game and then wetting the bed on national TV, right? But it's different. And so I'm not sure what's going on, but Jamie's about to start laughing. And anyway, it hadn't happened yet. There's nothing in the private chat, so I have no idea.
An hour and 2 minutes in tonight.
Yep. Jamie, what's up?
I don't know. Wet the bed struck me. Like,
see,
it's just that PTSD. I started laughing because of wet the bed because it was a thing, right? I mean, it was.
Oh man!
It was a night game. We were going to get beat by 30. Like yes. that was happening.
But my favorite Section 17 podcast story is the year that we played Miami on a Friday night, I believe it was.
Yes,
and
Duke
was
Friday
like
night.
5-1, and we're gonna go in the tower. We spent the money. We got tower seats. We were pumped for that game. And I'm telling you, with 12 minutes to go in the first quarter, the game was over. Like it was a rout from the beginning, man. That was our one tower experience.
The worst part about it was we were the only 4 people up there cheering, and they kept looking at us like we were Nimrods. Like, what are you guys doing? Why are you cheering?
Yeah, that was actually that was hilarious. The one time we decided to splurge and spend money, and we got our butt kicked.
I would say this though, it as a Duke fan, it is tough to look at this and not think ahead or anything like that. But we're 3-4 weeks down the road from where now this is the other biggest game in our history. So the players, they don't know. They've never been in this position. And like, Coach Elko is not going to let them get to the mindset and stuff like that. But as a fan base, we've never been here either. And like Josh just said, we do get a little PTSD. But I think it's something as a fan base we need to embrace. This is what Duke football in the Elko era has become. This is what Duke football is what's going to go down the road here in 24 and 25 and 26 and further on. So this is something as fans, we need to enjoy the fact this is happening. This is a big opportunity for the school, for the football program. Let's go out there. Let's fill the stands. We've been talking about that over and over and over again. Let's fill the stands, wear our blue, and be louder than whoever the opponent is in their fan base when they show up in our stadium.
All right. Moving on. At LA Dodgers all day. With the amount of long ball tosses we attempted yesterday, from the kickoff, the game plan seemed to be focused on passing and not enforcing the run game as much as we had been intentionally. Was that in prep for Notre Dame, expecting to need to air it out more, as y'all previously discussed? And at Big Papa RV adds a follow-up from his previous week's question about not taking long shots. Why do you think Raleigh struggles to throw long passes? His short and intermediate passes are elite.
I mean, I don't know that he struggles. I mean, there's a little touch maybe. I mean, listen, we sat through 3 years of Daniel Jones. I mean, his long ball touch was difficult. I think that number one, Elko said they planned on throwing the ball this week because they knew that UConn was going to sell out to the run. So at the end of the day, they planned on that. I think Raleigh's deep ball is fine. I believe this past week, as Scott mentioned earlier, they were looking at his hand during the game. There was some blood, looked like from his pinky finger. And so, that's on your throwing hand. That's going to impact. And he stayed in the game and continued to throw the ball. But he was throwing that sidearm a little bit throughout the game. So I'm not concerned at all. I mean, who says that we have to throw the deep bomb in order to win football games? Like, we haven't had to throw it so far, and we're 4-0. So we don't have to throw it. And honestly, a spoiler alert here, we're playing another elite defense similar to Clemson. We're probably not going to throw the deep ball against Notre Dame this week. We're probably going to stay under control. The short intermediate passes, the run game, misdirection, that's probably what you're going to see. You're probably not going to see a ton of shots over the top. Just is what it is.
I would say two things. One, the sidearm was something different, but the angle he had to come from, some on the defenders coming in, he had to dip it under the arm. Second, they mentioned, I heard this today on something, that one of the things that Duke used to their advantage against Clemson was the backside of the backfield, dumping the ball off to them and trying to get them on the edge. So that may be something we see more, Jaquez Moore or whoever, Waters, Coleman, catching dump passes and trying to stretch it out.
All right, last question. At Dangerous Dave _4, do we think Notre Dame comes in demoralized after what happened to them yesterday or pissed off? How does the result for Notre Dame, if at all, change the way we prepare for them?
Well, I don't think it changes the way we prepare for them. But if you're going to ask me to choose between demoralized and pissed off, they're going to be pissed off. I mean, they do not believe they should have lost that game. They outplayed Ohio State. They shut down Marvin Harrison Jr. They held McCord under wraps until that very last drive. Like, at the end of the day, they're ticked, man. And I think we said this. I think it was on air with Brady. I would much rather have 5-0 flying high Notre Dame coming in here a little big-headed than 4-1. We just got beat on the last second play OSU. You know what I'm saying? Like, anyway, that's my
I
thought.
agree. I'm going to go the same. They're coming in pissed off. I mean, if the game last week, one play goes different, everybody's talking about, Notre Dame this week, and Ohio State is dropping down the rankings. So Notre Dame is coming in totally prepared, ready, pissed off, and Duke will be ready for that. Coach Elko will have them ready for that.
I would say either way, we're going to get their best shot. Whether they're pissed off, mad, angry, it doesn't matter. They're coming down here. They may be tired of hearing about the upstarts, the great season that Duke has. I don't know what the media is in Chicago talking about stuff. I'm sure they're not. But there we go. So I think they're going to be focused. They're going to be ready to play. Duke has to be focused, and we'll see what happens.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for all your questions. We try to get to every one of them that we can and still keep it in a reasonable time slot. A really big game. We have a couple of things we wanted to let you know about before we head to This Week in Duke Football History. The first thing is this. We will be doing our first ever live recording. First ever in-person live recording is going to be on Monday, October the 2nd. That is this coming Monday after the Notre Dame game. Listen, the worst case scenario for this Duke team is that Duke is 4-1 coming out of the first 5 games. So we have a lot to talk about. We're going to kind of talk about the season up to that point. That is the bye week. But we are going to be hosting that at the Gothic Grill on campus at Duke. It's in the Bryan Center, if you know where the Duke University store is. It's down below the Duke University store in the Bryan Center. Really cool opportunity there. Eric, the manager, has helped set up with us. So it's going to be at 7 p.m. We're going to take your live questions while you're there. There's going to be a free nacho bar for everybody who's there for the podcast. We're just going to have a great time. So if you're local, well, number one, if we know you, obviously we want you to come. If we've never met you and you're local and you listen to this, Duke students, if you listen, I know many of you are listening to this and starting to listen to our podcast. We want you to come out and hang out with us. We'd love to meet you, and we're just going to have a good time there. So that's the first thing, live recording. Second thing, our inboxes have been flooded with ticket requests. Like, can I get a ticket? Do you know anybody that's got tickets? I'm trying to land a ticket. Listen, the Duke Football Talk Section 17 podcast is your hookup. And here's how. An anonymous donor has given us 4 free FREE, free tickets to give away. We're going to give them away in groups of 2. So we're going to give away 2 sets of 2 free tickets to this Saturday's game. You'll be on the home side. I believe you'll be with the blue seat backs. You got good seats. And so we're going to do this giveaway. You say, Josh, how are we supposed to win? How are we going to win? I'm glad you asked. Thank you for asking. Only thing we're going to ask you to do 2 things. We're going to ask you to like, subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's number 1. Number 2, we're going to ask you to comment on the YouTube feed. So this Notre Dame preview episode that you're listening to right now, watching right now, we're going to ask you to go to YouTube. If you're on YouTube right now, comment. You can just comment anything, something about what we said. You can comment like, please give me tickets. You can give us a little sob story of why you want the tickets and why you deserve the tickets. At the end of the day, we're going to randomly pick them by a wheel. And here's what we're going to ask, though. If you win, we are going to ask you to shoot us a screenshot that you have subscribed, because it's hard for us to track on the back end who is actually subscribed or not. So we're going to ask you to do that. We're going to give you 2 free tickets. Okay. So that is going to start as soon as this podcast hits YouTube, which is going to be sometime early Tuesday morning or late Monday night. It's when it populates. Okay. Sometime. So as soon as it starts, you can start commenting and subscribing. And then we're going to stop at Thursday morning. So Thursday morning, we're going to cut it off, and then we'll do a wheel. We'll put everybody's name on the wheel, and we will pick 2 winners. So trying to help you guys out, guys. Once again, thank you to a donor who wants to stay anonymous for giving us 4 tickets to give away. Scott, it is that time this week in Duke football history. Scott Medlin.
So this week in Duke football history, we're going to go way back. I'm going to say this is probably before Peter Dodge. So way back. Going to go back to September 26, 1931. Wallace Wade coaches in his first game as Duke's football coach, playing against the South Carolina Chickens. The Devils would fall to the Gamecocks 7-0. This was only the beginning of Wade's 16-year tenure, as he took the Blue Devils to 2 Rose Bowls, have over 100 wins as Duke's coach, and would later be named to the College Football Hall of Fame in 1955. Duke Athletics renamed the football stadium in Wade's honor in 1967. And that was this week's in Duke football history, brought to you by Bull City Sheet Metal. If you're a contractor and need ductwork for your project, give them a call at 919-354-0993 or visit them at bullcitysheetmetal.com. They take any job and grab it by the horns.
All right, we want to thank our sponsors for that segment. Bull City Sheet Metal. Thank you, Scott, for doing that every week. I look forward to that, just hearing some of the history there, especially those of us, that are old and that have been Duke fans for a long time. Kind of connects the past with the present. So I appreciate that segment every week. Brian's not here tonight, but he did pre-record. If you know anything about Brian Kennedy, you know that he had pre-recorded his Tale of the Tape. Now, it is not yet sponsored. By the way, if you're interested in sponsoring the Duke Football Talk Section 17 podcast, feel free to reach out. You can email us at dukefbtalk@gmail.com. We'd love to talk to you and let you know how you can. But this segment is not yet sponsored. It is the Tale of the Tape with one Mr. Brian Kennedy. Brian.
Thanks, Josh. Really wish I could be there to chat with Brady Quinn, but you guys are having all the fun. I hope you enjoyed that. And Duke fans, I hope you're looking forward to the game against Notre Dame. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish is the Tale of the Tape. Last year, Notre Dame went 9-4 and went to the Gator Bowl, where they defeated South Carolina 45-38. Now, I'm recording this before Saturday's matchup against Connecticut, so I'm a little early on this. So as of right now, Notre Dame is 3-0, and I do not know the outcome against Ohio State, but I'm sure the guys have already talked about that as they head into this episode. Hey, Coach Marcus Freeman is in his second season with the Fighting Irish and has a 13-5 coaching record. Before taking over the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, Freeman was the defensive coordinator at Notre Dame in 2021, and he has also had assistant head coaching stints at Cincinnati, Purdue, and Kent State. Now, this is only the 8th matchup all time between Duke and Notre Dame. Notre Dame currently leading the series 5-2. The first ever meeting between the Blue Devils and Fighting Irish took place on October 18th, 1958 in South Bend, Indiana, where then number 10 Notre Dame defeated Duke 9-7. Quite the defensive battle. Now, Notre Dame is currently on a 2-game winning streak, having defeated Duke 27-13 in 2020 and 38-7 in 2019. The last time the Blue Devils defeated Notre Dame was on September 24th, 2016 in South Bend, where they defeated Notre Dame 38-35. And head coach Mike Elko is 0-1 all time against Notre Dame when they lost, Wake Forest that is, lost 48-37 when he was the defensive coordinator. And now it's time for the Did You Know? Fighting Irish football alumni Alfred Bergman holds a Notre Dame team record that will never be broken. The unique record occurred during a matchup with Loyola, Chicago's football team, on October 28, 1911. Bergman was the team's kick return specialist that year and set the school record for longest kickoff return without a touchdown. Bergman returned a kick 105 yards that day in what would be an 80-0 victory for Notre Dame. The only problem was that back in the day, regulation fields were 110 yards in length. While Bergman did not score on the record-setting play, he went on to become one of Notre Dame's most decorated athletes. Along with this unique record, Bergman would also lay claim to being the only athlete in Notre Dame history to earn 11 varsity letters. Bergman would also be the only athlete to earn 4 letters twice in a single season, or single year, I should say. While most college athletes play 1 to 2 sports during their collegiate career, Bergman played football, baseball, basketball, and was the team captain for the track team. Bergman would go on to play 1 year in the major leagues and would also serve in World War I and would end his service at the rank of captain. While not known by many outside the Notre Dame family, Alfred Bergman certainly left his mark on Notre Dame athletics. And that was the tale of the tape for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Josh?
And we want to thank Brian for taking care of that, like he mentioned, even away on his vacation. Hope he's enjoying himself. We look forward to having him back. So, well, it's that time, guys. We have some predictions to talk about for this game. But before we get to the predictions for this game, Scott, I think, helped us out this week on this one. In Brian's stead, we have some winners who successfully predicted. I think we had one on the nose, right, and a couple of them that were close on social media. So, Scott, who won last week? Who's getting a free Section 17 podcast T-shirt?
All right, so the closest to the score obviously was 41-7 was the final score. The closest on Instagram and Twitter was DukeGlobal.zone, 42-9. And just for those of you that are wondering that were close, if there's a close, it comes down to this, we take the closest to Duke's score into consideration. So if you thought you were closer, that's why this other person picked 42-9. Then on Facebook, we have Kevin Odom, who picked 41-7 on the nose. So Kevin, you will be getting a shirt. Also, Duke Global's on, you'll be getting a shirt. But Kevin, because you got it just right on the nose, we'll be sending you a Section 17 helmet sticker magnet along in the package.
Awesome. So congratulations to both of those, Duke Global's on and Kevin as well. So we'll send a free T-shirt each week. We'll put this out on Thursday morning. You reply to it. Please reply to that. All of our eager followers like to get a jump ahead. And sometimes we actually miss it and we don't remember to go back and check. So make sure you wait. We'll post it on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and you can respond on any of those platforms. But we do appreciate that. So we're going to talk about our picks Scott, don't give your pick yet, but do you have the over under and all that stuff we were talking about earlier? Do you have that?
Yes.
Then we actually have Brian's guest picks. We'll do that. So Scott, tell us the over under real quick, and then we'll go to Brian.
Real fast, one other thing. We will have shirts available at the tailgate on Saturday after game day. So if you're interested in getting a Bleed Blue shirt or our newest Section 17 podcast shirt, just come see us and we'll get you taken care of. Now, we will stop doing anything before the Blue Devil Walk. Yep. So once the Blue Devil Walk happens, we will not be back out to the tailgate until the game is over. So just want to take that into consideration. Now back to the important things that we're going to talk about this weekend. So the over-under is 52. So it seems like Vegas doesn't think there's going to be a lot of points scored. Currently, as we sit here on Monday night, Notre Dame is a 5.5 point favorite.
All right, so those are our numbers. Brian's away, but before he left, he gave us our picks. And so, Brian, tell us what your pick is.
Hey, guys, so I'm obviously on a boat during this recording, so I don't even know what happened with Notre Dame, Ohio State, what happened with Duke, Connecticut. So I'm just going to go with my gut on this one. Duke has just been playing so well. They've already upset Clemson. They've gotten some good wins so far. Hopefully they're 4-0 heading into the Notre Dame game. Guys, I'm going to call it. I think Duke's going to get another upset win in Wallace Wade. I've got Duke winning 28-24 in a close one over the Fighting Irish. Now, as far as what they're going to wear, it's prime time, 7:30, ABC. It's going to be a huge game. It's already sold out. Give me the All Blacks with the blue Hellraiser on the helmet. Folks, I'm looking forward to being back next week during our bye week episode. And as always, go Duke.
All right, thank you, Brian. And we'll get to the rest of us now. Freddie, we'll let you go last, man. Since you're our guest, you actually can hear ours, and if you want to make adjustments, depending. All this is just for back and forth. We don't really get anything for it. But who wants to kick us off first? Now that Brian's done,
I'll go ahead and go.
All right.
I'll go ahead and get this over and done with. For uniform, it's Saturday night. It's the perfect time for the All Blacks, the Hellraiser, blue Hellraiser there. I think it's a perfect opportunity. It's a big game, national TV, game day. This is the game for that, in my opinion. As far as scores concerned, now there's where I've been struggling all day, and I'm not joking about being struggling. I'm really not sure what we're going to do here. So I think we're going to go. Let's say 28-27. The Todd father kicks a field goal at the buzzer, and we get to run on the field everybody else gets to run for the second time. If we win on a field goal at the buzzer, Todd, I'm coming to the field. My big behind is going to come down there and see you and hug your neck, my friend, if you win the game at the buzzer.
Hey, man, I'm sorry. I apologize. Todd Polino kicked a 50-yard field goal Saturday, and I failed to mention it.
Yeah, what's really worrying me is the two man crushes here are not filling your jobs like you're supposed to. The family's going to be very upset with you Saturday, Josh, for not.
No, it's all good. I've been congratulating Todd. We've been messaging, and yes. Todd knows that I respect that 50-yard field goal.
Grandpa's going to be very upset with you. Just so for the record.
That's right. Jamie, what you got?
Yeah, I agree with Scott on the uniforms. Right on. So all black, blue Hellraiser. I think it's, like Scott said, the perfect time to do it. Saturday night, college game days in town. Kirk Herbstreit calling a game. We got to impress Kirk, right? I mean, we have to. As far as the score goes, in my preseason predictions, I predicted Duke to lose to Notre Dame. Tonight, I'm not going to predict Duke to lose to Notre Dame. I'm going to continue to predict Duke to win until they prove me wrong. I'm going to go Duke 31, Notre Dame 28, on also a Todd Polino field goal. So Todd Polino's getting all the shout-outs now.
Man, hey, I'm glad we can bring attention to that. So that I don't basically mimic Jamie, I literally had 31-27. I'm going to stick with that because that's what I had written down, 31-27, Blue Devils. I also picked Duke at the beginning of the year to lose this game. But listen, I'll eat crow the rest of the season. I don't care. As Jamie mentioned, I'm going to pick them until they prove me otherwise. And so 31-27 Duke, my uniform combo, just to be different. I agree with the blackout, black, 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 and I'm going to go with the iron blue D. The blue D. So we won't go Hellraiser, but we will go black. Big iron blue D. So, Freddie, if you do pick if you pick a D on the helmet, you have to let us know if it's small, medium, or large. All right.
All right.
All right.
Got it. I'm going all blackout Hellraisers. When else are we going to do it? Yes, there's some bigger games coming up. It's prime time. It's college game day. What other bigger occasion than to bring out the Hellraisers in all black? My preseason predictions, I had Duke losing this game. I had Duke losing to Clemson. How did that work out for me? College game day is going to be there. It's Saturday night. It's prime time. We got Lee Corzo. We got Pat McAfee. Wallace Wade is sold out. Yes, there's going to be Notre Dame fans, but there's going to be tons of Duke fans. I am going Duke 27, Notre Dame 24. The field will be rushed again, and this time Freddie will be down on the field instead of taking a video of everybody doing it, which was a cool video. I will be down there celebrating. So Duke 27-24.
I am still going to take a video of everybody celebrating it. I'm not running on the field.
I will promise you this. My strategy this time will be different. And I already know what I'm going to do because I do have media pass for this game. And I got in the fray during the Clemson one. And I will be on the field, but I figured out a way to not get trampled. And so I have a strategy.
Oh, for the record, Noah, I did ask about your shoes. There was not a lost and found for the shoes, just so you know. So somebody either picked up your kicks or something happened with them. But I did ask somebody this past home game about that, and she said that they did not have a lost and found for a pair of tennis shoes.
I love it. I can't wait for Noah. You got to come hang out in Section 17, by the way. We'll try to get Noah over there with us. I'm not sure where his seats are, but we'll pull him over there. We have a good time. All of our friends that come hang out with us over there. If you do have extra tickets, and for some reason you don't have anybody get rid of them for you, let us know. We'll try to help you. We can connect you with some buyers for sure. We want to remind you of our live recording next Monday night at the Gothic Grill in the Bryan Center underneath the Duke University store. 7:00. Be there. We're going to have a great time hanging out with Duke fans and celebrating. Listen, like we said, worst case scenario, we're celebrating 4-1 in the first 5 games. And so be there. It's our bye week episode at the Gothic Grill, Monday, October the 2nd. Our giveaway for the tickets begins immediately when you're listening / watching this. You must go to our YouTube page, subscribe to YouTube. You must then comment under this Notre Dame preview episode, maybe some reason why you should win, or just we don't care what you say. Just make a comment under there, and then we're going to pick 2 winners to receive 2 tickets for free each. Want to remind you to follow us on social media. We've added some new gear to our store, and we're going to be adding a brand new shirt coming out. Shout out to one of our listeners, JD, who's been hooking us up with some of this stuff. We're going to be adding another new shirt that you can pick up at the store. It may even be out by the time you listen to this. It'll be available. But we want to recommend that you go to DukeFootballTalk.com. Check out the shop, check out the articles, all those types of things. On social media, we are on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram at DukeFBTalk. And then on Facebook, we have a Facebook group. You can just search Duke Football Talk. Let's see. On YouTube, you can find us as well, as I mentioned. And so I appreciate all the YouTube comments, those that watch on YouTube. It's pretty incredible. Guys, am I missing anything? I've tried to close up shop appropriately here. Once we want to thank again Freddie for coming on, man. Thank you so much. Remember, follow him. You can follow him either there at Skilo22 or at Duke Report. Freddie, thanks, man, for coming on tonight.
Hey, guys, I had a blast. This was awesome. I appreciate you guys having me on. I hope Brian's enjoying his vacation. I'll say real quick, me and him do the bowl projections. Mine's not changed this week. I hadn't talked to him, but if we put one together, we'll do it. But mine's still the Pop-Tarts Bowl. I've seen the Holiday Bowl mentioned by other media. I've seen I've seen the Gator Bowl mentioned, and I've seen the Duke's Mayo Bowl. For me right now, it's Pop-Tarts with the win over UConn. Win or lose this week, it could change, but I mean, everything's looking great for Duke. Like you said, even if we lose the game, 4-1 right now is great. But hey, let's get this win. And thank you guys for having me on.
Hey, if everybody listening to this has gotten this far, let's have a little fun here for the comments. Just because I want to poke fun at Brian while we can. Since Freddie's here, let's vote whether we want to replace Brian with Freddie or just keep Brian. And all the comments.
Brian's the man. Brian's the man.
I think this would be fun. This would be a great thing
great
for him to come home to and see that whether he's been replaced or whether we're going to keep him or not. You know, Freddie actually, other than the tell of the tape, has brought a whole lot of knowledge tonight that we wouldn't have regularly gotten. So, just saying, and it's my way to poke fun at him because he pokes fun at me all the time. So there we go. I have the microphone.
Yeah, I love it. So in the comments, put like Freddie should replace Brian, or for the couple of you out there, you can put Brian should stay. Like whatever you think. We know the overwhelming majority would say Freddie should replace Brian, and we'll see. And by the way, I do say all this full well knowing I'm going to be out of town in a couple of weeks. And I know I'm going to get the same type of treatment, so it's all good.
Hey, Brian's the man. He's going to stay. Brian is the man. And hey, if y'all don't want me back, it won't hurt my feelings. Like I said, I don't have many bad hair days, and so nothing gets to me too much, So, but Brian's the man, and I just hope he's having a good vacation right now.
For what it's worth, this is why I've not missed an episode yet, because I'm afraid if I do miss an episode, someone will replace me and can probably read the stuff better than I can. So there we go.
Well, no, listen, thank you so much for listening and watching this episode. Duke will take on Notre Dame this Saturday. We hope to see you there at Wallace Wade Stadium. If you're there at the stadium, we sit in the top row of Section 17. We love to meet you. Come say hello. If you don't have a place to sit, come sit with us and hang out. We have a great time. But until next time, for Jamie Holt, for Scott Medlin, for our special guest, Freddie Hodges, and for producer Justin Sykes, this is Josh Cox, and it's been another episode of the Duke Football Talk Section 17 podcast.
Now turn the music up.